the focus in 2012 was also on a draft media law governing news outlets and broadcasters that provoked much discussion both here and abroad.
Whilst the law is yet to be enacted, a cybercrime new order has been put in place. And with most publications having an online presence, it means journalists in particular need to pay close attention to what can and can't be published.
A previous assistant professor of communications at Zayed University, Matt Duffy, came in to explain the proposed changes and what the draft media law will mean to news reporting in the UAE.
And this is a very important issue here in the UAE. Currently, the current media law was created in 1980. Totally different media environment, pre-satellite television news, pre-Twitter, pre-Facebook, pre-internet. So, and really the original media law is quite restrictive. Many prohibitions about what journalists cannot do, rather than any types of guarantees about what journalists can do. And of course, in 1980, it was a totally different environment here in the UAE, and it was probably an appropriate, it was the appropriate environment for a media law like that. However, obviously, times have changed, and unfortunately, the law has not been updated, and it's causing journalists here in the UAE to they don't have enough freedom to practice good journalism all the time.
Do you have any specific examples you can think of, perhaps?
Well, I mean, I think the most famous would be the Dubai financial crisis, or perhaps crisis is not the right word. So some people would argue that crisis is the wrong word, and that would be the problem. Was that people that looked objectively at the coverage of that issue during that time period, they found that the local press tended to not cover the issue as diligently as the international press. So there's always been a difference in how things are covered locally versus how international news outlets cover them. I can tell you specifically that somebody counted the number of articles that were written in Dubai and compared it to the London Times, I believe, and found that there were twice as many articles written about this crisis in London as there were written about it here in Dubai. So that, I think, is a good example of how the media laws has an impact.
We certainly are seeing an evolution here. Now, of course, a lot of media agencies in the UAE currently exist inside the free zones. So how do the laws and the guidelines for media change inside the free zones compared to the rest of the Emirates?
Well, the free zones have their own content guidelines and whatnot, so they operate with a little more freedom, although I don't think it's ever been tested whether or not the UAE press law could actually be enforced upon a free zone. I don't know that that's actually been tested. My understanding is that it could be. The old 1980 media law could still be imposed. However, and this is another example of the problem, is the old 1980 press law has all of these prohibitions, which are clearly not even being followed any longer. For instance, the 1980 press law says that journalists may not disparage an Arab state. So if it's an Arab state, then there can be no discussion of anything that is being done wrong there. Obviously, all of the press outlets, both in the media zones and outside the media zones, aren't following that part of the law. The people are reporting on Syria, they're reporting on Libya, they're reporting on Tunisia. So what you have here is this odd, murky area where the laws just doesn't seem to be applied, and nobody really knows where are the boundaries.